Hello, and welcome to another episode of the Reclaim Your Divinity podcast with your host, Amanda Kennan. I am your spiritual empowerment priestess, and I guide women over 30 to transcend their limitations by clearing your past, guiding you to align with your present, and reigniting your soul's essence so that you can live life on your terms. And in today's episode, we are joined by the beautiful Kyra Brown. Kyra shares her really phenomenal story of awakening. She's had a very unique experience, um, totally captivating, fascinating, and mesmerizing to listen to. It's amazing what she experienced, just out of the blue, crazy. So she's a great storyteller. You can just feel everything that she says is coming from the heart. And, just the way that she has been initiated onto this spiritual path, because prior to her awakening, she wasn't on this path. And the way that she's been initiated is just so profound and phenomenal that you just know that she has a great purpose to serve here in this lifetime. So Kyra, she is a spiritual transcendence coach, and her purpose is to help bring people's lives into balance, help them to connect with and remember their universal love, and guide them during their awakening. So her mission is simple and yet profound: to awaken the dormant powers within each individual, guiding them on a path of self-discovery, empowerment, and transformation. Kyra has an unwavering dedication to empowering others, and she serves as a beacon of inspiration and a testament to the boundless possibilities of the human spirit. And that is exactly right. The human spirit is limitless as we go on this journey and transcend and move through those conditions, limitations. And Kyra is here to help you transcend your conditioned limitations and connect with that beautiful essence, that empowerment within. I mean, really, we are all of us spiritual coaches are serving the same purpose, with a different lens, a different perspective on what that purpose is. We are all guiding each other home. And Kyra's purpose is from the energy that she has been awoken with is such beautiful, lovely, like love and joy energy, love energy. It's just beautiful and uplifting, as you will feel as she shares her experience. So I do really hope that as you tune in, you really love her story and connect with Kyra. And of course, as always, the ways to connect with her are in the description below. And don't forget to like and subscribe if you love the Reclaim Your Divinity podcast and all the amazing guests that we have coming on. I hope you've had a wonderful start to 2024. This is going to be the last episode for 3 weeks, taking a 3-week break for the rest of the school holidays, and I'll be dropping in with more episodes after that. Have a wonderful start to 2024. Namaste. Hi, Kyra. Thank you so very much for coming on the Reclaim Your Divinity podcast with me today. I'm so excited to talk to you and to get your story out there of your experience. So, Kyra, you've come to this place where you're a spiritual transcendence coach and you're helping people with your energy and the messages that you have to share. But it hasn't always been like that. And you have such an amazing story to share. So can you please start by diving on in to your story?
Yes. Hi, Amanda. It's so lovely to be here. Thank you for having me today.
Yeah, my pleasure.
Yes, I have a beautiful story to tell. And I think by telling it, it might just inspire some others who may be suffering or having a hard time that, things can change and life can change. But in January this year, I was at home. As always, it was a normal night. My wife and I had just put the kids to bed. And I said, come on out and we'll sit under the stars. And I sat under the stars at that time because I was grieving. 6 months prior, I had lost my big brother in Ireland to an accident. And I knew that by sitting under the stars that I could connect with him. And so I wanted to do that night. So we sat in the garden under the stars, and we were only there for a few moments, and I could feel a change in the energy. Like I knew something was happening. I was very aware of it, but it was something that I'd never experienced before. And all of a sudden, it was like the top of my head flipped back, and I could see very clearly that 5 points in my brain lit up, and they attached and connected to 5 stars that were in the sky that night. And this energy started to exchange. And I went to turn around to tell my wife that something was happening, and I realized I was standing beside myself. So I had separated from my physical body. And the energy and the feeling that took over instantly was just a knowing that I was home. I was safe, I was seen, I was held. I knew I was in a higher power. There was something more that I had never experienced in this life, but I knew it to be home. And when I turned it back around, my big brother, who's I had intended to connect with, actually stepped out of the space in front of me. And I had an angel on either side of him, and they glistened in this beautiful golden glittering energy. And he said to me, "Hey, Katie," which he always called me. He says, "Hey, Katie, I'm here to awaken you to the truth of who you are. You are a healer who has come to earth at this time to heal others. But for that to happen, we must finish your healing." And he says, "Will you travel with me tonight? Will you journey with me?" And I says, "I will right now." And we stepped into the space and we started to travel. And we traveled through my timeline of this life. And I was gifted the opportunity to go back to a time where a trauma had occurred in my life. And I stepped into the space, like I stepped into my bedroom when I was about 7. And I could see myself at 7 sitting in a wardrobe crying, completely lost, completely in fear, sad, grieving, a lack of understanding and not fitting in. And all I could see was this wee girl, and she was covered in this black, dense cloud of energy. And then I stepped forward and I lifted her up and I held her and I loved her and I talked to her. And the more I talked to her, the more she began to heal. And this black energy that surrounded her started to dissipate, and she started to glow, and she started to smile. And I just loved her and I loved her. And I felt all this love of the love that she should have had and the love that she should have felt for herself. And the more that I did this, the more she started to find her childlike spirit, and she started to glow. And when the healing was done and she was happy, she looked up at me with such love that she just started to glisten. And then I set her inside me, and I just put her inside of me in my heart and my soul, and she became the part of me that was missing. And I did this for about 10 instances that night. And it was me in cars. And I was sitting in the car, and I was about 10, and I was sitting in the back seat of the car, and I was urging myself to open the door and jump out. Open the door and jump out. It all ends now if you just open the door and jump out. It doesn't have to be this hard, just end it. And this is the kind of thing that I thought from I was about 5. All I wanted to do was escape life, because I just couldn't understand it. I couldn't deal with the pain of everybody and everything. And I knew deep inside me that it wasn't meant to be this way. This wasn't how life on earth was meant to be. But I couldn't understand it being so young. And so I lifted myself out of cars, I lifted myself from under bridges. I lifted myself from sitting on top of a bridge at another time when I was about 16. And I remember it clearly that I was just urging myself to jump into the water. And there was a flood in the water, and I knew the flood would carry me away and I would never have to deal with it. But I just always found this energy not to do it. And I wanted to do it, but I just knew I couldn't do it. I couldn't do it. This wasn't the answer to do it. And I put all of these reflections of me, all of these younger me's, all of these parts of me into myself that night. And I built myself up from the inside out until I was complete. And when that process stopped, I was complete. I was whole. I felt for the first time in my whole life like I had all of me within me, that I was exactly who I was meant to be. And when we had finished that, I stepped back into the garden and I was placed back within my physical body. And Ryan said, now it's time to see. And he walked around behind me, and I can see it so clearly because it was the moment that changed my life. I'll never forget it. He put his hand over my face like this, and he lifted a black veil. And I liken it to like a cinema screen, the curtain rising to show the screen behind it. And the minute that that black veil lifted, boom, instantaneously, everything I thought I knew changed. I suddenly had the awareness that all of my perceptions were distorted, that all of my beliefs were back to front, that everything I had ever been told about who I was or life as it is was wrong, misrepresented, misunderstood. The garden itself came alive. The trees came alive. They took a step closer. The grass carried energy. The stars had meaning. The night sky came in closer. Everything that I was surrounded in became alive. And I just knew this was the start of my life. This was the first day of the rest of my life, because finally I could see the truth of who I was. And my whole life I struggled. I struggled with not feeling enough, not being worthy. Why was I so different to everyone else? Why couldn't I just do the things that everyone else seemed to be able to do easily? But everything was so difficult. Everything was hard. Everything caused me pain. But instantly, I knew that wasn't the truth. And I knew I had been living in a perpetual state of fear, that I created a reality that wasn't true. It wasn't how it was. It wasn't how it was meant to be. And it wasn't the truth. I had just been living in it for so long that I didn't even know. I didn't know. But then I had this awareness that everything was finally being shown to me in the way that it was supposed to be. And it was the most beautiful, soul filling feeling of love and joy and bliss and ease. And like I struggle with finding the words to describe the extreme love and beauty that occurred in that minute. And from that night, my life has never been the same. And when
incredible, so incredible. I could just feel the energy in my heart is like lit up with your expression here. Like, and if you're not watching the video and you're listening to this just on the podcast, you can really see just the glow in Kyra's face when she talks about this experience and the healing. When you talk about going back and healing the past, just that love that you shared with your younger self just radiates from your face. It's really beautiful.
it's incredible. It's such a beautiful, beautiful story. But and it makes me really emotional talking about it, because for me to have gotten that and been gifted with that, I had to lose my big brother. And it was him, and I owe that to him. And I know in contracts, and I know it was meant to be, and I know I've agreed to this, and I know all of those things, but at the same time, I and my family still had to lose a big brother for me to be saved, for me to be awakened and activated on that night. But he gifted me with it, and I do thank him every day for that, because my life has changed. he left in order for me to live.
What a very amazing, incredible example of polarity, right?
Yeah.
The dark and the light, the yin and the yang. Wow. Such a, yeah, an experience. And do you talk to your brother very often now? Do you get to see him very often?
Not as much now. I talk to him, I call him in, he always comes. But for following that night, I talked to him and I worked with my angels and my guides for every day and every night for about 12 weeks. So he would come and they would awaken me out of my sleep, and they would say it's time to travel. And it was 3:40 every morning for about 12 weeks. By
Wow.
3:40, I would be awakened out of my bed, and they would say, come outside, it's time to travel. And I would do it always. And I would be sitting outside, and the minute that I sat down and I closed my eyes, whoosh, I would go. I was always guided by this golden white light. I always was surrounded by golden angels. I have to describe them as angels because they were just so pure. And I would travel to places and have wisdom and knowledge activated within me that was ancient but carried in my DNA, that had to be activated in order for me to fulfill my soul's purpose in this lifetime, which is simply telling people the truth of who we are, what we are, how we can connect with it, how we can come back to ourselves, because everything that will bring us peace and love and joy in this life is already within ourselves.
Yeah.
You know? And so I would receive downloads every day. Like I would be driving the kids to school and this download would occur where I would have to literally stop the car and allow this information to come through. And at the start, I was trying to write it down so that I wouldn't forget it, because I actually maybe didn't realize that I didn't need to record it, that it was me, that this information actually was just me and it was activated. And so I become aware of the fact that I just needed to be accepting of it. And I just accepted everything that was happening. I never questioned anything I was ever asked to do. I just knew that this was the truth. This was my opportunity. And I had been blessed to do this. And so I just stepped into that and just started to go with it and follow any guidance that I was given.
Amazing.
And it's just gotten more and more profound over the time. Connection has built, and I'm able to call in anyone that I need, or anyone that, will help me in a situation, because I'm still going through clearing the patterns, clearing the old programming. But on a night or a day where I can feel that happening, I call in my people, I call in my ancestors, I call in my soul family, I call in those who I've loved and lost in this lifetime, and they always come. I always feel these hands on my shoulders. I always feel held up. I always feel supported. I feel lifted up in order to be able to sit with these things, see them clearly for what they are, that they aren't mine, and that I can let them go.
It's so amazing when you reconnect with all of this other support. I remember when I first really connected with it, it was like connecting with the loving mother I never had. But not that my mother wasn't loving, but this love and support just far exceeds anything I've experienced in my human experience. And I'm sure a lot of us feel that way. Oh, it's so amazing. Now, you've obviously got on this, the word I'm looking for to call it speedy, a better word for speedy, but this really fast awakening and transformation, and been taken on this beautiful journey. And not everyone has experienced that, and probably won't get to experience something so profound in such a short period of time in this life. And in your experience, you were able to go back and really initiate that healing of your timeline and have the veil lifted,
yeah,
and see the truth And for somebody who hasn't had that experience and they want to connect in and feel this truth of who they are, how can they begin this process on their own?
I think one of the biggest things that I was shown was our sense of perspective has been trained in a manner that everything that we think, feel, and do is the opposite of the truth. And if you want to become aware of who you are and how we can change it, then we need to become aware of our thoughts and our feelings. And we need to, it's almost like if you're feeling negative, or you're feeling pain, or you're feeling down on yourself, and it all starts with self. So if you're feeling down on yourself, you're not feeling worthy, it's sitting with that thought, what is causing me to feel like that? And identify it. So identify what has actually caused in that moment for you to feel that emotion. And if you can break that down and you can find the root cause, then that gives you the chance to look into it, to delve. Is that mine? Is that something that I was taught at a young age? Did that come from something that someone said to me at school, at home, a sibling, an uncle? It doesn't matter, a member of the community. But is it mine, and is it true? Is that who I am? Do I identify with that? And when you start to break it down, you really can start to see that it's not yours. And most of the things that are holding us down today are beliefs and patterns implanted by someone else around us when we were young. And I think to grasp that, it really gives you the opportunity to change your perspective. Because I'll give you an example, and it was only the other day. I had a feeling that I had to do this on my own. That I'm on my own. That anything I want to do, I have to do it myself. And it's not the truth, because I have a beautiful support team behind me, and my family, and my wife, my kids, and my friends. But I had this overwhelming feeling one night. I was overwhelmed, and I thought, I have to do this myself. And I sat with that, and I really delved into the first time that I felt that. And it took me back in my mind. I went back to, I was 6 years of age in primary school. And I was told in primary school that I wasn't enough. I wasn't good enough. I wasn't who they wanted me to be. And so I was almost shunned upon. And, I had no friends. The teacher was mean. And that is where that belief that I had to do this on my own, because I had no one that was going to teach me, no one who was going to show me, no one who was going to guide me, and no one who was going to be with me doing this. And when I came to that realization, I took the 38-year-old me today, and I went back to that 6-year-old girl, and I looked at that image, and I realized that wasn't that wee girl's fault. That wasn't that wee girl that did anything wrong. That wee girl was 6 years old, and the people around her didn't understand what they were doing. And the adults didn't even know what they were doing. They don't know. People don't understand the effect that they're having. But in me seeing that, I was able to heal that wound. I came back from that knowing that I was perfect. I was 6, I was learning, I was growing, but because they had said one thing or something happened, I carried that for life. And I only cleared that a few days ago. And since then, I know I've let that go. I have healed that wound. And that can simply be that change in perspective, and that knowing to go back to a situation where something happened with the wisdom that you have today and the understanding that you have today, and look at that weak child and help them understand that it wasn't there. Because we can do that with everything that's ever happened. We can go back to the root cause, heal the root cause, let that go. And we wake up the next day a newer, higher, brighter, best version of ourselves. Because we no longer carry that belief that holds us back. We're empowered. It's all about empowering yourself, believing in yourself, trusting yourself that you have all the tools, all the knowledge already within you. It just takes time to sit and look at it.
Yeah, absolutely. Thank you. And so when we go back, and also in that example or any other example where you've sat and you've identified what the root cause of this feeling is, and then how do you carry on? Like, so you let it go, but quite often that's not the end of it. Quite often it'll come up again at another time. And so you were talking about self-awareness. So how do they tie in, the self-awareness, and we now have the knowledge of why we feel we need to do everything alone, and then suddenly you're trying to do everything on your own again. And what do you do?
Well, I practice, and I have practiced very long time, how to pick out those moments when they happen.
Mm.
It's really important that if we see that we're stepping into that behavior again, that we just stop and we literally just look at the situation and we look within ourselves at how we are reacting. Because 9 times out of 10, you're reacting to something rather than responding. So if you can stop yourself in that moment and say, hang on, I see that. I see you trying to come back. I see you trying to present yourself again. I see you trying to distract me. Then just catch it. The minute you catch it and acknowledge it, then you will start to see the growth happen. But it does take practice. It does take practice to be able to just, and if you find yourself maybe in a situation where you're reacting to someone else's energy, or you believe that you're reacting because of something they've said or something they've done, to just stop and breathe for 5 seconds. And if you just consider your response for 5 seconds, I guarantee you will respond in a completely different manner than you would react.
Mm.
And it's the same with kids. It's the same if the kids are playing up or something's happening or they're getting frustrated. Instead of just going into autopilot and saying something that's not going to be helpful, to just breathe, sit back, and consciously be aware of your response. Being very conscious of everything you think, say, and do for a short period of time. It may take a few weeks, it may take a few months, but it will become second nature. You will start to slow down those automatic responses. You will step out of autopilot more frequently. It will all come into alignment, but it does take time. It will take time because these are beliefs and these are patterns that we've been living in for 10, 20, 30, 40 years.
Mm.
So, you can't just change it all in a day. But if you commit to it and if you just slow the body down, if you can step out of the situation and see your reaction and your response, then I find that very, very helpful. It
Yeah.
really can help you and give you the tools to change how you're responding, is to yourself and to those around you.
It's like a matter of commitment and self-discipline. Like, we need to be aware and disciplined in that, bringing the awareness in every day, committed and disciplined. And where I often find I'm challenged to do it is in the midst of the busy chaos with lots of young children. And so when there is so much going on, 3 different kids asking you for something, and you're running late for school and you're trying to get the bags packed, do you have any tips for those situations?
I think remembering that what you're creating, you're feeding your kids.
Yeah.
Your kids are literally feeding upon your energy.
Mm.
So if you're rushing or if you're getting frustrated, you're putting that energy out there. Then they're seeing that energy and they're responding to that energy. But if you can control you, then I guarantee you will see the effect that has on your kids. That will have the effect on how the morning goes. And sometimes you just need to lift the energy. Like if my kids are going off, they're 7 and 5, and there's mornings here that they go off, or they're tired, or they're cranky, or one says something to annoy the other. And when I see them getting into it, I flip that energy. I change that energy. I put on some music, you know, something powerful, something like modern headspace, step into my power. My kids love it. And the minute that it comes on, the energy changes. You know, they know that they're getting distracted or they're getting frustrated. And, you know, like we've sat with them and worked with them and building their awareness. And it's like everything, it's all learning. But if we can teach them that we can do it, then they're going to mirror what we do. And if we can be calm in those moments of hecticness, of craziness, and we can calm down that hectic energy, then they will respond to that calmness. They will watch you, and sometimes they won't, and sometimes they'll take it on. But I guarantee you, if you do that for a few mornings, they will start to look and go, oh, this feels nice. They will start to respond, and it will happen. It will happen. So, you know,
Yeah.
that again, how do you control that environment if the kids need you to control it?
I
You know, if
definitely see the pattern, like the pattern in my energy and the energy of the kids. Like, yeah, 100%. Like, not always. Sometimes they are just having a crappy morning because everyone, you know,
yeah,
everyone has their own experiences, but there definitely is that pattern there, that's for sure.
yeah. And there's that requirement, you know, and I see a lot of parents today too busy.
Mm,
Sometimes I go to a friend's house and their child is literally just tired and
mm,
needs a hug. But they don't understand that. And so they're playing up or they're showing it in a negative way to get attention. But all that child wants, I guarantee you, is attention.
yeah.
And it, you know, nothing else matters. And if we can come back to the importance and the important things that we're doing and raising our kids, it doesn't matter if dinner's 10 minutes late.
Mm,
It doesn't actually matter if you're an hour late to school.
mm,
Because if your child is something going on emotionally, internally, where they need to be seen, heard, and validated, that overrides everything else in my book.
yeah.
That is when we need to come back to what is important. It doesn't really matter if you're an hour late to work. No. Doesn't matter if the kids are an hour late to school. No. Doesn't matter if you have cereal for dinner. No. Doesn't matter if your child is 7 and has the opinion that they don't matter because you had to make dinner. Yes. Is that what causes trauma? Yes. Is that what causes them to have low self-esteem, self-worth? Yes. So what matters? It's just coming back to what truly matters. And if parents could sit and say, you know, what hurt me when I was a child? What did my parents do to me? And if I responded like that to my kids, how am I making them feel?
Mm,
And again, that's coming back to that awareness. How did you feel at 7 when your parents said, I'm too busy, get on with it, get over it, suck it up, move on, you'll be grand. It doesn't make you feel loved and heard and seen, which is the most important thing in this world, especially when we're talking about our kids, because we're raising the next generation. And if we can teach them that they matter, that they come in front of everything else, then they will always know that they're worth it.
yeah.
It doesn't
It really
matter.
is
Feed them
breaking that
cereal 3
pattern.
nights in a row if you have to. It
Yeah.
doesn't matter. Those are little things.
Mm,
You know, it's the big things that matter. It's the how do you feel? How are you seen? How are you heard? How are you validating them?
yeah.
Are you hugging them enough?
Mm,
Like if a child's having a tantrum, I just hug them. I pick them up and I hug them. And I hug them and I hug them and I hug them. Or I do something simple like I build a love bridge. And it just gets her attention. I sit them in front of me and I say, let's build a love bridge. Let's build a love bridge. And I'll just get them and I'll just start it. Just put this block here and I'll put this red block here and I'll put this blue block here. And I build a bridge from my heart to there. And every single time they go, oh, I can feel the love coming from that bridge. And I say, you know, that bridge is always there. Even if you're not on my lap, that bridge is always there. And that, like, you can see the love fill them up from the inside out. They know that they matter. They know that they are everything. And that reflects in their behaviors. That reflects in how they approach asking you for help or getting that attention. They know they can do it in a positive way. Mommy, can we build a love bridge? I'm just feeling frustrated, or I'm feeling angry, or I just need a hug.
Mhm.
But if you do it, if you teach them how to do it, they will do it.
Oh, so beautiful. And that leads me into asking you about this work that you do with children, because you have ceremonies that you hold for adults and you also do for children as well, which I think is so beautiful. Can you talk a little bit about that?
Yeah, of course. So I started doing kids' cacao ceremonies.
Mm,
Um, and really because my kids love it.
mm,
So, and I'm doing these things because I can see the difference it has in my kids. So you have to remember my kids are 7 and 5.
mm,
So they've seen me at my worst.
mm,
They have seen me depressed, anxious. When they were little, they have seen the fact, and I made just a video the other day. I was taking them to Nippers and I said, and I became an age manager at Nippers for the kids.
yeah, yeah.
And I said, you know what? 12 months ago, I could not take my kids to Nippers on my own. I had such severe anxiety, I couldn't take them on my own. And today I'm standing as an age manager, ready to lead the group.
Wow.
Yeah. So I see the effect on my kids. I am trying to heal the things that they have seen
Mm,
over the years that I wasn't the person I am today.
yeah.
And so in doing that, we have started small ceremonies ourselves and we let go of our worries in the fire. And I teach them about who they are and the energy systems that they have within themselves. And Tilly says to me, Mommy, could you teach my friends this? I said, yeah, we could. Would you like to do a kids ceremony? And she said, yeah, I would love that. And so a kids cacao ceremony was born. And the kids come and I teach them the importance of letting go. So one of the biggest things that I've learned is how to let go of things, not to carry things, not to carry the pains and the worries from yesterday into today. And so we do a little fire ceremony where we write down our worries, and some of the younger kids draw their worries. And it can be anything from, being shy at school, not being confident enough to answer a question, worrying about going to the bathroom on their own and at home, worrying about the dark, worrying about, how someone makes them feel, worrying that they aren't enough, that they're not the same as their friends, anything. And they write them down, and then we give it back to the universe in the fire. And I teach them how fire is a symbol of transformation. And anything that goes into that fire, you can't take it out. It burns, it's gone. And that has a huge effect in kids because they're putting these worries in there and they know that at the end of it, at the minute that that piece of paper is burnt, they can't take it out again. They no longer have that worry, it's gone. And I see kids change instantly after that fire ceremony. It is amazing to watch. Like I feel so blessed to watch it and watch the parents look at those kids with a new set of eyes and watch those kids walk away from that fire ceremony walking taller, standing up straighter, feeling prouder. And then that has created a space for energy. So because they've got rid of that negative energy which was in their body, they've then created space to fill it with something positive. So then we move into the intention setting part of the cacao ceremony where we all get our cacao and we think about what it is that we would like to create, what it is that we would like to feel or like to do, or, it can be anything that a child. Imagine the things that we hear are such beautiful things, but simple things that kids relate to. And so we all sit around and we hold our cacao and we put the energy of that desire into the cacao. And then I teach them that by drinking it, they're drinking the energy. And that desire, that positive energy then becomes your cells. It becomes your skin. It becomes who you are. So you leave here carrying that positive energy, which means anything that you ever want to be, do, or achieve is already within you. And it has the most amazing outcomes. Like I have kids leaving here walking taller, feeling confident, And then at the end of everyone, we'll finish off by, guiding them through who they are and the energy centers that are within them. And I use the chakra system because it's a rainbow.
Yeah.
And it has the most beautiful effect on the kids to tell them that they have a rainbow within them. And I'll sit and I go, you're a rainbow, and you're a rainbow, and you're a rainbow, and you're a rainbow, and you're a rainbow. And they're lighting up, and the energy's building, and they're feeling it, and they're getting into it. And then I teach them about the colors and what they represent, and watch each chakra, the strength that it gives you. And so we always have a learning, and we always have, and we make it fun. And they leave 2 hours later with the knowledge that they are everything, that they are magic, that they are true essence, that they can be anything they ever want to be.
That's so beautiful and so amazing. And, of course, kids of any age can do this. And I feel like to start developing that practice at, like, your kids are 5 and 7, like, what a perfect time, because, they're still in that, their brain is still very much, moldable, in that they can, like, really take in, like, they're in that hypnotic state where they can really take in this as truth. Like, this is truth. I put that in the fire, it is gone. And they carry that belief behind it. And so therefore it is true. And when you're an adult and we don't get taught these things when we were kids, and we're now 35 years old trying to learn how to let things go after holding on to everything for 35 years, well, it can be a little different, a little bit more challenging. So do you have any advice for the adult who's trying to let things go? Because I love how, we were talking before the recording, and you have truly mastered that letting go of the attachment, and living simply from your heart and your guidance, with the self-awareness, moving through the things that come up, because they still come up, of course. But you really have mastered that letting go. And for an adult out there which I know there are many, who are like, well, how the F do I actually let it go and not care about the outcome when it's so important to me? Do you have any advice for that?
Yeah, well, there's a few different forms of that, I guess. But if you're holding on to something that's having a negative effect, it's really writing it down and looking at it. And it's delving into why you're holding on to it. What purpose is it serving for you to hold on to it? And maybe it's a lot of the time with people I work with, they're holding on to it as a way to blame others for how they feel. So they're blaming on to a hurt, or they're blaming on, holding on to something that someone has done to them to hurt them. And I move into the reframing of that, where everything that ever happens to us in this life, we have agreed to it. And this is one of the biggest learnings. Again, I have a lot of biggest learnings that has come to me through this. Everything that we've ever experienced, we have signed up for. And I have said that to some clients who have been through some hard things and serious traumas. But once you can sit with that, if you can actually sit with that and think, why am I holding on to that? Is that serving me, or is that holding me back? Again, that's perspective and that's self-awareness. But moving into a place of forgiveness, or knowing that without that happening, then I would not be here today. And I relate everything that I give advice on only because I have lived it. I only talk about the things that I have lived through. And I have sat and I have forgiven all of those people that have hurt me the most. And I have done that for me to let go of that energy, because they don't know. They don't know that that is holding me back. It's only holding me back to hold on to it. But if I forgive them, I release that energy. Everything is energy. Every thought, every action, every behavior creates energy. And if you don't want that negative energy within your body, the easiest way and the most profound way to let it go is forgiveness. You're not forgiving them. You're not saying it was okay for them to do that to you. You're simply releasing the hold that that energy or that experience has upon you. And a great way that I do it is I use fire. I do that for me. I do that for my wife. I do that for our kids. I do that for clients. I do it because it gives you an opportunity to write it down, draw the pictures, draw the images, describe it, write a few pages, write half a book if you need to, just get it out in all its detail and watch it transform and know that the energy that you've put into writing it is held within. And once it is transformed in the fire, it's gone back to the universe, and you can simply step into, I release that. I release that, and talk yourself through it. No, I don't need to carry that because that's holding me back. I choose to let that go. I choose forgiveness over hatred. I choose love over anxiety. I choose to free myself, because it's all about freeing yourself. Because the words that you're hearing, no one else can hear it. You know, no one else can hear or know your inner dialogue. Mm-hmm. But if you choose to talk yourself through that, you will find that that energy begins to build. The energy will begin to build. And the more you practice it, the easier it will become. And if you have to burn that same worry 55 times till you feel it's gone, then burn it. Then burn it. There are no limitations, but continue doing it. Sit with it, because it will work. It will work.
Yeah, amazing. Thank you so much for sharing, Kyra. And I think just that, you know, that last piece you said about if you have to burn it 55 times, then do it. That, you know, it's not the same for everyone or everything. We all get affected differently and in different levels of the things that happen to us. And so one thing you might be able to let go of really quickly. And another thing, which might seem smaller, is you're actually holding on to it for a lot longer, and you can't, and you know, you need to repeat the process and repeat the process.
And finding the triggers to those things as well is really important. And, you know, I do that by a daily journal. I've journaled for a long time now, and my journaling has changed significantly following my awakening. But to sit down every night and think about the things that have triggered those emotions. And if you can find the triggers, then you can find the experiences that are causing them. And then it gives you more awareness into looking into them, to explore them more. You know, why did that trigger? What did they say? What did they do? How did that make me feel? Where did that take me back to? Where is the place? Where is the first time I learned to respond to that in that manner? Because if you can find the root cause of that, then you can let it go. You know, but if you're clearing it, like if you're clearing last week and then the week before and then the months before, it can be a long process. It does work, but it can be long. But if you can actually sit with that long enough that you find the root cause, and what was the first time I ever learned to respond to that situation in that manner, then you can look at it from your wisdom today, from your knowledge today. Maybe it was a 16-year-old you that didn't know any better, but you know better now. So you can go back to that 16-year-old and you can say, with the wisdom that you have today, that wasn't you, that you didn't know that, but that today that doesn't serve you. That reaction isn't serving you. And so we can change it. And if you can go back and talk to your younger self, or your younger versions of you, the version of you that learned to respond in that way, then you really can clear things out very quickly.
Yeah, that's so amazing, going back and, you know, you're giving us all the tools, and the listeners here all the tools that they need to sort of go and do this work on their own, to change their perspective on the world around them, on themselves, and really transform the way that they experience life. And that's amazing. There is also, I feel like, for some people, and maybe not for everything, but some things might be a little harder to get to the root cause of on our own, and to, really see the truth. Maybe we're a little frightened, maybe that the ego is not allowing us to go deep enough to find it. And so we may need to call in some outside help in those instances to sort of help us get to the core and get to the wound. Is that something that you help people with?
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely. I have clients here a lot who find it difficult to sit on their own and be that truthful with themselves, that brutally honest, or vulnerable. But it's like, and I've done this myself, it's like when something comes up and it's really painful, our human instinct is to turn away from it, to protect ourselves from the pain. So therefore, we're carrying that thing forever. Because if we don't look at it and we're constantly shoving it down and hiding from it, it's not going anywhere. It's simply just hidden within us, but the energy is still within us, and it will continue to come up over and over and over again for the rest of your life. Or you can sit in that pain for a few hours, like really sit in it, feel that pain, agonize in it, scream, punch, cry, kick, jump around, do whatever it is how that's making you feel to clear. Yes, it will be difficult for a few hours. Yes, you will cry and you will sob and it will break your heart and it might make you feel like being sick physically. But know that once you do that for a few hours, the likelihood is, and my clients have seen it, that does not come up again. It doesn't come up again. So it's like the choice. Do you want to sit in pain for 3 hours and clear it as a result? Or do you want to carry that pain for the next 50 years by not looking at it? So
and like, I think sometimes for me, when I get these big emotions come up or I need to purge, release something through that experience of the crying and the feeling, sometimes I don't even know what it is.
Yeah.
Like the root of it, it's just coming up. Like sometimes I can feel the feeling of like, the first one coming to mind is there was a time I was releasing and I felt violate with the feelings that were coming up. It was that of violation. I have no idea what that was in relation to, but I was releasing and just sitting with that and releasing all of the energy around that. And then, and then it's gone and I haven't felt that feeling again. But like, I think when we're getting, there are times where it's so beneficial to go and do the investigation work and find out, okay, what's the root cause, what's the belief and everything. And sometimes we might just feel emotions out of the blue for no reason, and that's okay as well. Like we don't always need to like dig deep and find out what's going on. We can just sit and let it feel and be feeling crappy with no explanation, and we can just let it flow.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. And not everything has to have a label. We are here as spiritual beings in human bodies to have a human experience. Because if you think when we're spiritual beings in other dimensions, we don't have all of those emotions. We don't have our senses. We don't get to taste and touch and feel and do all the things that we're able to do here. And that's why we come here, to experience it. And so it's okay to experience it. It doesn't always have to have a label. You don't always have to have the answer, but to simply be comfortable enough to know that this is an experience that I need to have today. This is something within me that I need to release today, but I am going to do it, and I'm going to do it in love and compassion for myself. Not beat myself up for feeling like this. No, I'm going to make myself a cup of tea. I'm going to wrap myself up in a blanket, and I'm going to sit with this or have a bath or light a candle or play some music just to let it go, just to feel it and let it go.
Yeah.
And that's a really big one is, people beat themselves up for having a bad day. Why am I having this? Why? I don't want this. Why? It's okay to just have a bad day. It's okay to have 3 bad days in a row. It's okay If you need to stay in bed for a day and just cry, it's okay. But to just do it with compassion, to do it with compassion, to feel love for yourself and be proud of yourself for feeling it, because that's what you're here to do. You're here to feel, you're here to love, you're here to grow, you're here to evolve. And if you cry for 2 days, I guarantee you, you're going to feel better afterwards, because you're going to have grown. You're going to have taken something from that experience. You're going to use it moving forward, and you're going to wake up the next day a newer, better version of yourself. And that's what it's all about, evolving every day. If you let something go, you're creating space for something new to come in.
Oh, so amazing and beautiful. And like just that knowing that it is okay. And for me, the thing that was coming up then when you were saying that is like if you're in a partnership or something, that, you know, telling that partner, I'm out. I'm out for at least for a few hours. You just need to give me space because I've got something coming up. Because so often, you know, we might feel that it's not okay to take time for ourselves to go and sit there and process that, or I have this obligation or that obligation that I need to fulfill. But like our own personal processing, when something is at the surface, like really needs to come first so that we can shift that, because otherwise it's just going to go back down, like you said, until the next time it presents itself.
Yeah. And you don't want it in. And again, you know, if you honestly feel like you need to do that on your own, that's amazing. But if there's something within you that says, I feel like I have to do this on my own, but really what I would want is my husband, my boyfriend, my girlfriend, my wife to just give me a hug, then it's having, you know, it's bypassing any ego or anything that I don't want them to see me like this, because it's bringing people together. You know, it's bringing that person that you need into you and being vulnerable with them. Because a lot of the time, if you're going through this, they're sitting there thinking, and they may be doing it quietly, how can I help? How can I help? I wish I could help. I love them so much. I wish I could help. And sometimes all we need to say is, will you just be quiet, but hug me for the next 3 hours? And that's okay.
Yeah.
Because that's going to build a stronger connection. And that's going to show them that you trust them, that you believe in them, that you allow them to be there and hold that space for you. So, you know, it's just identifying what is it truly that you want. Do you truly want to be on your own when you tell your partner, just leave me alone, let me be, because you're grumpy? Or do you really want them to just hold you and hug you and love you and support you?
So beautiful.
That's just being honest with you. It's really just feeding into your heart and trying to bypass that ego. It's that ego. I'm not going to let them in. I'm not going to let them see me like this. It's okay. It's okay to just be intimate and vulnerable with each other.
Yeah, so amazing. And the other thing that I'm thinking about when we talk about this and having our bad days and allowing it to come and be is something that you love and you're passionate about and you have mastered as well, is manifestation. And in a lot of the manifestation teachings that are out there, when we're talking about our vibration is what makes us magnetic and, you know, is what creates the mirror and so forth. And we need to be vibing high and feeling high emotions and happiness and all that sort of stuff. There's a lot of, you know, I guess that kind of gives people the impression that it's not okay to have a bad day. It's not okay to be feeling really icky about this thing that's coming up, because, oh no, if I'm allowing this emotion to creep in, then I'm pushing my manifestation away. So I've got to not feel that emotion so that my manifestation can come in. But it really isn't the case, because you obviously allow your emotions to come and sit with them as you've discussed, and yet you still seem to manifest the things that you need and the things that you are manifesting.
I feel like that's perspective. So again, if I'm having a bad day, I don't beat myself up. I don't think, oh, woe me. I don't get sucked down into the low vibration of it.
Yeah, right.
I will have the bad day, And when I'm finished, and yes, it's hard. Yes, it's tough. Yes, it's, it can be ugly at times and beautiful at the same time. But when I'm finished, I always can say thank you.
Mm.
Thank you. Thank you to myself for allowing that to come up and clear. Thank you to the universe for supporting me through it. Because I know that by clearing that, I have still cleared space. And that's what it's all about. You don't need to avoid these tough moments, but you need to be thankful for them. It's gratitude. It's gratefulness for everything that occurs. It's finding the silver lining in every cloud. It's looking for the rainbow after every storm. Because the storms will come, but it's how you take them, how you perceive them. And if you can understand that at the end of every storm comes a new, brighter, sunnier day, that you just need to weather the storm to be the new you, then all of those events become positive events.
Yeah.
So your energy's still at a positive state. Yes,
So,
you've had a tough one, but you've taken a positive state throughout it.
yeah, I love that. Instead of how, what we once may have done when we're having a bad experience is self-perpetuating it and focusing on, or even getting into victim mode, or like telling ourselves the story of why this is happening and this always happens to me and nothing ever goes right, or whatever story we may come up with. Instead, experiencing the emotion, be like, okay, I feel like crap, but that's okay because I know that this is happening for a reason, and I'm just going to move through it and be with it and thank the universe for showing me this thing, guiding me to my healing, to clearing space, and I still allow the emotion to come.
Yeah.
And just have that different perspective, stop the self-hatred talk and shift the perspective into thanks and gratitude.
Yeah, and it is, because everything, our higher selves are simply presenting that to clear now because we're ready for it to clear.
Yeah.
Because we no longer need to carry it. So if we sit with it and we clear it, as hard as it may be, that's a positive. It's a positive. It's happening for a positive reason. It results in something positive occurring in your life. So if you can just flip the perspective onto seeing everything that you've ever experienced every day, no matter how tough, if you can find the positive in it, then magic will occur in your life. Your life will change if you can see the positive in every tough experience and find gratitude in everything that you're living.
Yeah. And I feel like the message here is as well is to just stick with that matter of perspective as much as you can with your self-awareness that you have in that moment, even if your life isn't changing instantly, but sitting with the trust that if I do this and I practice this and I create this as my new way of being, that things do start to shift. And it might
You can't change your life if you don't change your energy.
Yeah.
Energy is your life. So if you can change from being negative and down and saying, this is going wrong, that's going wrong, why is it always this? Why is it always that? Why is it tough? And you can go, I'm experiencing this for growth. I'm experiencing this to clear space. I'm experiencing this for something better to happen. Then you're creating. And it's all about creating with that energy, creating something positive. Because everything that we are, everything that we do, everything that we say, all creates that energy. So if we can pull from it the gratitude for everything that we have and everything that we are, we then realize that we become abundant. We are already abundant. And if you're living in abundance, then you're creating abundance. And if you're creating abundance, you're attracting abundance. But the key is to understand that you already live in abundance. Because once you focus on the fact that you live in abundance, that's where your focus is, that's where your energy flows. Then that's what you create and that's what you attract. And that's one of the biggest keys in manifestation. If you want to attract abundance, then live in gratitude.
Yeah. And it's not necessarily abundance as in, well, I'm going to pretend that I'm driving a Porsche instead of my Mazda. And like, I mean, that too, but the foundation of it is that the abundance is, it's all within me already. That is the abundance.
Yeah, because, and I say, people put tags on abundance, tags on energy, but energy has no limitations. Energy has no tags. It's simply man-made words that we use to describe specific ways that energy presents itself. But energy itself is energy. So you are abundant. And when you can step into understanding that you are abundance, you are energy, you actually are already everything you could ever desire to be, then that's the flow that you want to be in. That's the kind of alignment with universal energy that you want to be in, and understanding that you already are everything. Therefore, you have everything. Therefore, you get everything, you be everything. Everything already is. Because everything that you ever want or desire, could possibly think of, and things way outside your dreams, it's all within you.
Yeah.
And it's just connecting with the realization that you already are everything. You already are the universe. You are the stars. You are the moon. You are the sun. You are the trees. You are the nature. You are happiness, joy, wealth, any way that you want to label it. You already are it. If you simply sit in it and allow it to be. Don't label it. Don't have expectations on it. Don't, this is going to happen, that's going to happen. No, I am everything. Therefore, I can be everything.
And like we said, it is all that positive stuff that you've mentioned, but it is also being okay with the labeled not so positive aspects of ourselves and allowing that to be us as well, because it is our experience, but reframing it in the moment. Yeah, the perspective and everything. Yeah, it's so beautiful. I love that. And for people listening, just, I feel it's so important just to have compassion with yourself along the way in the journey of becoming this new way of being, and being patient. If it doesn't happen instantly, like, don't give up. Just don't give up. Keep on. And if you fall off the wagon and you allow your mindset to slip and falling into victim mode, then that's okay as well. Like, that's totally fine. Just you'll come to another point in your life where the self-awareness comes back and you have the energy to put into pulling yourself up and reframing the things as they come up. And
yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, just really being patient with ourselves.
Absolutely. And those things, they will all come and they will all go. But it's realizing that it's only a moment in time. That moment in time may be a day, it may be a week, it may be a month, but it is yet only a moment in time in the grand scale of things. Say to yourself, this too shall pass. I can learn from this. I can adapt from this. I can grow from this, and I can move into a new version, because nothing says you have to be the same you every day. And that blew my mind when I heard it. That literally blew my mind, because I thought every day I wake up, I just can't Kyra. I'm attached to this, I'm attached to that, I identify as this, I identify as that. No. Every single day I wake up, I can be a new me. However I want that to be. However I want it to be. Today I woke up an author writing a book. Tomorrow I'll wake up a manifestation coach. The next day I'll wake up, a creative element will be there. I'll be writing a song for kids to teach them about chakras. You can be anything you want to be every single day. There are no labels. They're only confined by our own imagination and what society tells us we can or cannot be. Just step aside from it. Be however and whoever you desire to be, because we are here to experience joy. And the universe will work with you if what you're doing is giving you joy. So whatever it is that brings you joy, do that. Because when you're doing what brings you joy, your vibration is high. And when your vibration is high, that's when everything happens. So it doesn't matter what it is that brings you joy. Just do that, and do it to the extreme. Do it to the fact that you cannot possibly do this anymore. That's where you want to be. However that looks for you as an individual in your uniqueness, that's it. Do that. That's the goal.
Yeah, amazing. So freeing, you know, and I talked about this recently, that old paradigm of we've got to go to school, then go to university to get a degree in this field, work our way up in this field to a management position and earn the dollars and buy the house and all that sort of stuff, and stay in the same career path for our entire lives, unless you have found your purpose in that career path. I can almost guarantee that that's not necessarily a really fulfilling life. Like, we change and evolve so much that it needs to be okay for us to shift into what lights us up as we grow into that. And it's okay to show up as someone different every day or every week or every year or whatever it is.
Yeah, absolutely. And step into that.
Mhm.
Enjoy being something enjoy it. Let that become what makes you excitable. The fact that I am happy to wake up and say, oh, you know what? I don't like that wardrobe today. I'm going to change my entire style. I'm going to change everything about me. I'm going to change how I think. I'm going to change how I feel. I'm going to change how I respond. Change it. Change, 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 change. Change is growth. Change is wonderful. Change is excitement. Change is bliss. Don't sit still and become stale in doing something that doesn't excite you. What's the point? There's no point to it. We're not here to work. We're actually not here to go to school and be trained in a particular way. We're not here to work. We're here to experience human experiences, to feel, to love, to laugh, to taste, to hear, to see, to use all of our senses, all of our emotions to become the highest version of ourselves. And if you're not doing that today, then change it and do it. Because with that comes freedom. With that comes bliss. With that comes the realization that you are living your heaven on earth.
So amazing. And I feel like when we talk about manifestation and people manifesting money and relationships and health and whatever, the frequency or the energy of all of that is freedom. You know, like, that's what we all really want, is the freedom to just be ourselves and do what lights us up and brings us joy.
Absolutely. That's when the universe will respond.
Yeah.
That's what the universe desires. The energy wants to work with you. A lot of the time we're just standing blocking it. We're our one biggest blockages to what the universe wants us to have. And if we can just step aside out of any fear over anything and follow our hearts, do what excites us, do what lights us up, then everything we could ever desire and a whole lot more will be presented to us itself. It will all just present itself. It really will.
Yeah, thank you so much for sharing, Kyra. And you know, you're a great example of that, from someone who has lived most of their life in pain to being able to make this sudden shift your perspective, shift the way that you experience your feelings as they're coming up, shift the way that you move through life, implement these new processes that you've developed to carry you through the tough times, and attract in the life that you want, so that you can experience this freedom and this bliss frequency and live life the way that we are meant to be living it, not the way somebody told you you should be.
And that's another thing. I can only do what I do because I have experienced the worst pain. I couldn't help others who are going through what I have gone through if I didn't have the knowledge of it. If I couldn't say, yeah, I know how you feel.
Mm.
And that is why I chose to experience every painful experience I ever did. And I look back at all of those experiences now and I thank the universe for them. I thank the people who hurt me most. I do on a daily basis. I thank them because without that experience, I wouldn't have the knowledge and the wisdom and be where I am today, able to help others experiencing the same.
Amazing.
And that's the perspective. And it is usually the people who suffer the most that have the most to teach. If we can step aside and just come to the perspective of we can use that knowledge, we become the best teacher of that pain because we've lived it. And that's what we can share with others. And that's how we can, if we can just step aside, look at it, delve into it, sit with it, and gain a new perspective on it, then we can go and share it with others. And we can become the very teachers from our pain.
So beautiful. And Kyra, for those who are just captivated by your story and would love to know more about you, what is the best place for them to reach out to you?
So I'm on Facebook, Instagram, TikTok.
Yeah.
So I put a lot of what I talk about on there just to share information. I'm just about sharing. I'm trying to reach people and share the truth of who we are, why we're here, and how they can change their lives.
Beautiful. So if you
always available, so reach out at any time, and yeah, we can always have a talk about where you are, or if you just want to talk more or hear more, I'm always open. I just love to share and meet people. I love to meet people, hear your story, hear your experience, hear where you've come from and where you want to go. That excites me.
Yay. Yay, that's so beautiful, Kyra. So all the links to Kyra's socials will be in the description box of the show. I just want to thank you so much for coming on and sharing your story and your beautiful wisdom and energy on this show. Even if you're just listening, I'm sure you can feel the energy. And if you're watching, I'm sure you can feel the energy. It's so beautiful. And yeah, just feeling so privileged to have shared this space with you today.
Thank you so much. Thank you for having me.
My pleasure.
It's been wonderful.
Thanks, Kyra.